Property Patriot, you are cleared hot.
Today on the show, we have James Oliver Perry, a real estate investor with over 17 years of experience. He's done it all, from wholesaling to flipping to multifamily investing. On his podcast, Oliver shares his insights and strategies on how to build wealth through real estate. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned investor, today's show is just for you. Find out all that and more, where we provide real estate investors the tools to achieve generational wealth. This is the Aim High Podcast. I'm your host, Bud Evans. And this is show number 47. Good day, high flyers, and welcome to the Aim High Podcast. Today I am joined by Oliver Perry. Oliver is the host of the Real Estate from the Foxhole, not only YouTube channel, but podcast. Oliver, good to see you, man.
Good to see you, bud. How you feeling, man?
I'm doing good. Just working on a flip. You know how it goes?
Yeah, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this flip thing.
Right.
Yeah, because we hit the button before. We were talking a little bit before. We wanted for you guys to miss out and get spoiled, so we got to spoil you guys right now. Flips. I don't hate flips. I also don't love them. We talked about it a little bit before. The first flip that I actually did a flip here in Baltimore during the height of COVID. And my military bosses did not know, and when they found out, they were pissed. But it's neither here nor there. During COVID, I was out and about. We actually did a flip called 1304 Kitmore. I'll never forget the road. 1304 Kitmore here in Baltimore, Maryland. And we bought it for, I think it was like 85, somewhere around there, 85K. Not a bad property. Had a lot of upside, right? It needed some work, but had a lot of upside in a decent neighborhood. Everything in the neighborhood was in decent position, in decent condition, that is, except for the two houses on the very end. One was 1304 Kitmore. I think the other one was 1306 or 1302. I can't remember. But they were right next door, right? We got 1304 and we go in, but this is where my first introduction to flipping, where things started going south, right? So we go in, we look at the property. This is like a week beforehand. We're like, all right, cool. It looks good. We need to do this, that, and the third. Bet. We go and lay out everything. We signed the paperwork. We would get it from a bank, right? So we signed the paperwork, myself and my mentor. And that night it rained. So we're like, okay, cool. Big deal. We'll see what happens. We're going to go in that day. We're like, just let it rain. It's all good. We'll go in. So we went in the next day and there was flooding in the basement. Now, when we went in there, we looked in the basement. And my mentor literally said, all right, check the walls for any water, any moisture, so we know it's not flooding down here. So cool. So man, I was hand rubbing everything. I was rubbing all walls because I didn't want it to get caught. And sure enough, it was raining. It rained and it went down there and flooded anyway. Turns out that what was happening was the drainage off the building was too close to the building. But because there wasn't enough rain, it wouldn't leave it wet. It would dry up almost instantly.
Right.
On the walls and coming down the side. But any water that got down would stop at the bottom and just pool up. So we had these two huge pools of water. Man, when I say deflated, all I saw was money signs, right? Immediately. Because we automatically had to go through the French drains. Our construction guy, our GC, had to drill into the concrete. And there was concrete in the basement. So we had to drill out the concrete. So that's more cost. And we had to fix the drainage. That was more cost. And we had to fix the side of the house because the side was just laid out because of the wear and tear. But it was a pain. Now, I will say I learned a ton in doing so, which I'm sure we'll get into. And I'm going to start running my mouth now because I'll keep going about this dog. This split was a pain. Oh, my God.
So listen, man, you and I know each other from the war room.
Yeah.
I know you're an Army vet. I'm an Air Force vet. We bust each other's chops, but we all work together for a common goal at some point, right? So why don't you do me a favor? Give me a quick background.
Okay. Quick background. I apologize, you guys. I am a talker. My name is James Oliver Perry. I go by Oliver. I am the third only because my father didn't know the other two. So technically I'm the fifth, but I'm the third by birth certificate. With that said, I'm a U.S. Army officer. I've been in for about 17 years. I've wholesaled. I've done flips, not flips, a flip. I'll never do that again. And then I also closed in on a multifamily property at the beginning of 2021, right before deployment to Kosovo. Now that property is going into a refi. We're about to give our investors 60% of their money back, which was way above schedule. We intended on doing 15%. We're going to do 60 instead and refi out and continue to hold on the property for another 10 years. I'm lying. Sorry. We extended it from 7 to 10. So 8 more years, basically. And now I am learning the capital raise for multifamily, specifically C2B properties, and then taking those and making those more profitable, stabilizing, and even selling or holding them, just depending. And I like to stick with JV style. So we're staying around 50 and under. Once I get more money under me, then we'll start JVing and bigger properties. For now, 50 to, let's say, about 20 unit properties is my sweet spot. And that's James Oliver Perry.
Nice, man. And a vibrant introduction it is, man. So, and sitting here talking about, so first off, we get along right off the bat because we both got the vet thing going on, and but we had a conversation before. It's great meeting you face to face.
The pleasure's all mine.
Yeah, man.
All mine.
I don't know how we got here, right? That first, we just got out of a flip called Voldemort. I picked up my son now. He's going to be property managing for me. And we're going over processes, procedures, and checklists. When I say my son, everybody gets the wrong impression. My son's 31 years old. He's a assistant director at the respiratory ICU at Temple University Hospital.
Nice.
Yeah. So this is like a side hustle, like it was for us when we first started out. But from Army officer to real estate, how'd you do it?
So I did it by just deciding I was going to do it, if I'm honest. I was stationed in Fort Knox, Kentucky. I was working at HRC. And while I was there, I had a moment that was very much eye-opening while I was just there learning to wholesale. I had somehow found out about wholesale and said, you know what? I've always wanted to be a real estate mogul of some sort and some type. So I'm going to give this a shot. So I found myself a mentor online, a guy by the name of Tommy Holt. He's not mentoring anymore. He's doing something else now. But at the time, he was great for me. He was a fraternity brother. He looked like me. And I think that was important for me to see somebody of the same hue that was doing it as well, around the same age. So he was doing it. And I got on the phone with him and I started making phone calls. Got a hold of a guy who had a gun range. Right? So this is Kentucky. And I'm thinking, I'm more suburban, grew up in 7 cities in Chesapeake, Hampton Roads, Virginia, right? So I'm thinking, okay, this guy's he's like super country. He's out here in buttless chaps and shooting stuff off of a fence post, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm talking to the guy and he's no, I've got an actual gun range. I'm like, all right, now you got my curiosity. He said, I've got 6 lanes. 3 of them are completed, 6 are pending, $35K each. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is real. $35K each. He only has 3 done, 6. He has 3 more left. And he says, I want $4.5 million for it. And I'm thinking, holy, I'm not going to use any cuss words. Holy crap. This PG friendly. So, holy crap, right? So I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. You got that much? That's what you want? He's like, yeah, that's what I want. So I immediately go into panic mode. So I try and play cool, and I get off the phone with him. I immediately call my mentor, and I'm like, Tommy, I don't know what to do. He's like, relax, just take a breath, take a breather, let me look at the property. I'll call you back in a little bit. During this conversation, somebody walks up and says, hey, Perry, we're going to go into this conference room and celebrate these soldiers. And okay, got it. So we went into the conference room. In the conference room, there's 7 guys lined up in front, a room just full of people. What they proceed to do is they celebrate these guys coming home from doing an Army training, what we call air assault in the Army. And this basically the guys are jumping out of helicopters. So they did air assault, and I think a couple of them did airborne as well, where they jump out of airplanes, perfectly good planes. Is what we're jumping out of. They sit there and say, hey, congratulations to these guys, Tom, Joe, Sue. Great job. We want to celebrate the 9 months of work you guys have done to get these badges. And they start clapping, right? And then they say, we're going to give you guys coins. Now, this is where it hit me, bud. And there's nothing against them. It's just a moment in time where I realized, okay, something's off here. I know for a fact that coins at that time were around $3 to $4 a piece. 9 months of training, you get a badge, bad knees, and a coin. The dollars don't make sense to the effort put in, to the reward you get. And for us those who are career military, it makes sense because there's a long run goodness to it, right? you're going to be more likely to hit general. Most of the generals have that kind of balance.
Yeah.
But if you're a guy who's like, hey, I want to do my 20 and get out of Dodge, jumping out of airplanes, it's a nice experience. But unless you want to keep beating up on your knees, it's not going to be as important as maybe doing some training elsewhere, computer training, cyber training. Something's gonna you can take with you. There's not a lot of delivery services that are jumping out of planes these days. Right? So at that very moment, I was happy and realizing, man, the amount of time that we put into some of this stuff, we don't get the necessary same reward on the back end. It's really depending on what you're doing. If I'm infantry, it makes sense. But at the time, I was signal. I was a computer guy. So me being able to jump out of planes is cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking anybody who does it. But for me, it didn't make sense because money, it just did not, the time didn't add up. I got 9 months away from my kids. I had a 2-year-old, 3 or 4-year-old, 3-year-old at the time, 3-year-old. Daddy was walking, all this great stuff. I'm missing birthdays, anniversaries, holidays to jump out of a plane and then have to continue to go to, because I know vets right now that have bad knees and they're listening to this and their knees are aching as we speak, right? Yeah. I know this for a fact. And I'm thinking, why would I go and do that when I can go and do this in the wholesaling? And that's when the click happened for me. And I was like, okay, I'm on it. I'm after this. And that's just been the story since then.
Yeah, man. I used to tease my airmen. I used to say head and shoulders and knees and toes means something completely different after 20 years in the military. They're all the things that are messed up when you get done.
That's it. That percentage is going up every time you get those knees. Every time.
And the only thing that's left out is the bad back. I got that. I was working on, my wife has a hair salon, so we were over there working on that yesterday, and I was laid up all day today, man. I finally able to get off the floor.
Okay, I get it. I cannot judge. I understand. It is not easy. My knees, I'll go on the planes now. And the first thing I'm thinking is, if it's Delta, hey, do you by chance have any emergency seating? The first thing I do immediately, I'm a veteran, I'm throwing the vet card out there quick, fast, in a hurry. And the same thing with Southwest. I'm using every advantage I can. Otherwise, my knees are by my ears, and I'm just miserable the whole flight. So I get it.
Yeah, man, I got you. So, all right. Now, neither one of us really, we flip, but we don't really care for flipping. We have other motivations. But your first deal was a flip. Let's break that down a little bit.
All right. Let's talk about it. So I was saying before, it's 1304 Kitmore. We bought it about 85K. We ended up going, it was like a 60K budget. We ended up going over budget around 40K because things kept happening. So we'll make a long story short. I'll jump in from where we left off earlier. Is once we got the fix for the downstairs, we started having issues upstairs. While upstairs I was painting, we realized there was a veneer on the wall. So it wasn't just a veneer. It was like a wallpaper and then something else was underneath it. So we had to poke the holes in the wallpaper, steam the wallpaper off. Then we had to go back in and put some fluid on the wall to scrape off the whatever stuff they had put on there. I don't know what that stuff was. We had to scrape all of it off. That was another week of work that we had to do. And this is in 2 different rooms upstairs, 2 of the main rooms upstairs. And the number just, like I said, the number just got going. It was like 40K over by the time we were finished. When we went to go paint on one of the windows, there was water leaking. And I couldn't figure out, I was like, am I losing my mind? And apparently there was a single nail, one nail bud had been moved left and right somehow in the roof, and it was dripping through the roof into the attic and then into the room and then into the window. So then we had to go up into the attic, fix the roof. Like the number, it just kept getting bigger and bigger. So by the end of it, we lost a little bit of money. We didn't lose a ton, but we ended up losing like 10K worth of money. My mentor took the main gist of that, but I was blessed enough that he allowed me to invest. I invested around 3K. What little money I had, I put in, and he gave me my 15K back. And the other side was lost because of the issues that we ran into in the house. And it's just, this was how the kind of flip went wrong, and that's the story. That's kind of why I don't like flips now.
And I like to say that I buy flips now to keep my contractors happy. That's it.
That
keep
makes sense
everybody
though.
working.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I'm selfish, man. I want to buy it and I want to keep it.
You know what? I'm not mad at you for that. I think that's the right move personally. That's the way, especially if you've got, like you said, you've got your son involved in it. What better way to carry a legacy later on in life? And when you, God forbid, leave this earth, now your son has 5, 6, 7 houses that
Yeah.
he can pass to his son or daughter, that they can pass to their son or daughter. Let's say they decide to blow up the house. They blow up the house. Now they've got the land and they build something amazing on the land. Like it's deeper than just the right now. I don't think you're selfish. I don't think it's selfish. I just think it's smart for planning. That's all I think it is. I think it's good planning.
Yeah, man. I'm in total agreement with you. When I teach how people can create generational wealth, it's not about buying
Absolutely.
a property just for today. It's very nice to have some cash flow when you buy a property, but 5 years from now, it's going to be cash flowing 25% more. It's going to be worth maybe
Uh-huh.
30% more in value minimum. It's not the
Yeah.
last 2 years where you're making 22% per year on your appreciation, but it's crazy. But creating that opportunity for not only yourself, but for your kids later on, it's pretty powerful stuff.
Let alone the lessons you learn in between there.
Yeah, man. Losing 10 grand on the one we
Yeah.
call Voldemort.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Tell me about Baltimore. So what happened? What caused? And I want to take over the. I gotta know what happened with Baltimore. How did you get there? Where are you at now?
Yeah, so Voldemort was a property that we bought a little bit less than 1 year ago. We just got it off our desk about 2 months ago. Built in the 1900s. You expect what you expect, knob and tube, but we had
Right.
scaled. So I had a whole team that was doing acquisitions. They missed single pane, wooden windows. We had to replace all those. How do you miss 40 of those? There's 15,000 right there. So yeah, so that was the end of that. And then they underestimated the size of the cesspool and the septic tank
Mm,
replacement. They only got 2 bids. And when we went back, neither one of them could deal with it because it was a 3,000 square foot, 5 bedroom, 2.5 bath house. And
right.
when we went back, we needed a larger septic tank. So doubled the price of the septic tank and the removal of the cesspool. We had to dig a well. And then there was problems with the wells. So then we had to put in a filtration system, and then the windows in the basement weren't a standard size. They missed that too. So then we had to try to order. Now this is 2022, right? We
Yeah.
had to try to
Yeah.
order custom windows for a basement. And we all know what's going on right now with inflation and how difficult it is to get supplies. And it was a year. And then the guy finally comes back. He was always like, all right, it's going to be a couple of months. It's going to be a couple of months. I'm like, right.
Right.
We get 6 months into it. I'm like, tell me it's a couple more months. He goes, dude, nobody's got them. It's going to be a couple more months. So then we had to do a seller give back. It was just one of those things. Just it snowballs, right? You get quicksand.
Yeah.
By the time
Yeah.
we were all said and done, it was just like, man, delay after delay, issue after issue. The township fired their entire construction team. So
Holy cow, really?
we couldn't get inspections done. And it was it's costing me $2,000 a day. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Holy smokes. How does that happen? What, they caught in a
You
drug
can't
deal
make
or
this
something?
stuff
How
up,
did that
man.
happen?
Yeah. So then
Holy
they
cow.
replaced them. And then the people that they replaced them with worked 2 days, 2 hours a day from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Yeah. So oh, by the way, the office is closed. Try to get in there and pull a permit or organize an inspection. And we had our rough-in scheduled, and then the guy never showed up. And then we found out what happened, and it turned out that they had been fired. So then we had to go back. And by the time we had to go back, they were like, no, these permits are no good anymore. You got to get new permits. I was like, oh,
What?
yeah.
On? I have never heard. That's nuts.
It was
That
crazy.
is crazy. The timing on all that, all those happening to lead up to those folks being fired at the same time you need to get your permits. Oh man, this is why I do not. Flips to me, as great as they are, I think they're great for some people. I think they're great in some areas. The issue that I have with flips is there's so much out of your control when you invest in it.
Yeah.
Right? Because one of the big things that they teach us in any fast is you want to mitigate risk as much as the issue with flips is there's so much space for risk, right? With a large multifamily, if two of the buildings have an issue, I know, let's say I've got other four buildings that are functioning correctly. I just got to lay out my numbers according to those four, right? Or according to those two. The flip, I'm only got one property. And I
Yeah.
make my initial look, my construction, my contractor goes in, takes a look at everything. But if, God forbid, the day everything's done, I'm scheduled to get my insurance laid out and a tornado hits and rips the place out of the ground, I'm stuck.
Yeah.
Because now the insurance didn't hit when the tornado went up. Where with multifamily, I've got more space for those kind of issues to happen, and I still have somewhat of control. With flips, man, I feel like as soon as you get into it, it's a 99.99999% chance things are going to go south, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. You just have to plan for something like that.
And this was like, because I've only been doing this for about 4 years, roughly 4.5 years. And this was like, man, 113, I think was the number, the flip number that we've done. And this is the worst. That's why we call it Voldemort. That which shall not be named. We don't talk about this. I don't even say the street name anymore. People say 123 Main Street when they're talking about a regular property and they want to give an example. They go 123 Main Street. And I go, oh, don't say Main Street.
So with your son doing, and I kind of taking over, I know this is important to me. For those who have family and they want to get their family into real estate, what's your kind of guidelines with bringing family in? Because that's tough sometimes, particularly when you got high expectations for your kid. No matter what age they are, you always got high expectations. You can be the dad yelling on the basketball court at age 10. You're still be that dad at age 40, 45, right? So with that said, how do you manage expectations versus his aspirations with learning this stuff?
You know what? You just gave a great analogy with the basketball court. So I coached ice hockey for over 20 years. I coached my son's teams when he was younger. Then as he got older, I either didn't coach him, I didn't coach his teams, or I didn't coach him directly. So I was always a head coach and I always had an offensive and a defensive coordinator. And I would have depending on which team my son was playing for, I'd either have the defensive coach. I'd look over and go, hey, Mr. Video, did you see that? And shout out to Mike Video, by the way. Hey, Mr. Video, did you see that? And he'd say, I got it. And I'm like, good. And then my son would skate off the ice and then Mr. Video would handle it. And I didn't have to be dad yelling at Frank in front of his friends. Now we're at the point where now he's a 31-year-old man and I've got a bunch of checklists, procedures, and processes. And I can just say, okay, look, these are the videos that I made. You can go ahead and check these out. This is the system that I have for my mentorship program. Go ahead and check those out. By the way, here are all my checklists. Here are all my processes. And here's the project manager's template. If you just take this binder and you just go page 1, boom, boom, down the line, page 2, permits, rough-ins, inspections, so on and so forth, then you'll be fine. The herding the cats portion of it is where it gets a little tricky because it's still 30. It's a 54-year-old man yelling at his 31-year-old son. It still goes back to the 30-year-old dad yelling at his son who's playing hockey. You know what I mean?
It goes back to it. Yeah, absolutely. Go Canes, by the way. Those of you who are hockey fans.
Sorry, man. That was the best best played 4-game sweep I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was a war. I'm just annoyed because I was like, all right, we come out of beating the brakes off the Devils. We whooped the Devils. And I'm thinking, okay, we're going to go in versus the Panthers. It's going to be close, but we should be able to squeak it out. And we got our butt handed to us. It was a fight the whole time. Yeah. Almost, what was it? I think 2 or 3 games were overtime, each one of them.
3 overtimes, all scored by Kachuk. Yeah.
Don't get me started on that part. I was pissed. And then to take the big hit, like, I don't know who got the hit off, but somebody popped one of our players and put him out like he was on the ground. I was like, come on, we got to win this one. And that was the one we lost, the last game of the series. And I was like, come on, man. We went out like that. But it's all right.
1 goal per game, man. That's all it was. The last game, 1-0. Fantastic, though.
Love me some Canes, man. Don't get me started. But anyway, okay.
Hey, you got stuff going on. I'm a Flyers fan, so I got a long way to go before we ever get back into the playoffs.
But I tell you what, though, you got a history, right? Man, the Broad Street Bullies,
Yeah.
Come on, the Flyers at one
Dude,
point.
45 years ago. Let's get over it.
Listen, you said
Let's
what you
win.
want. I love the Broad Street Bullies. 'Cause when I started watching hockey, I didn't have a bunch of teams to watch. I didn't even really understand what was happening. But the storylines were the part that made it so cool.
Yeah.
Bill Lemieux, Wayne Gretzky, the Broad Street Bullies. Like, I would watch the Flyers just go in and beat people up. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, we
That
might
was
not
good
get the
stuff.
win, but you're going to come out with a whooping, that's for sure.
I loved watching hockey in the 80s because when we were losing the Stanley Cup every other year, at least we were losing the
Right.
teams that were dynasties like the Islanders or the
Yeah,
Edmonton Oilers and
right.
Wayne
Yeah,
Gretzky,
I
Mike
mean,
Bossy,
yeah,
big
yeah.
name. Yeah, man.
Yeah, you can, those, at that time, those teams were nuts. The Kings, the Pens. It was just, it was different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a different, you got the story. I feel like it was like the golden age, if you will, of kind of sports in general, because
Yeah.
you didn't just have the storylines now. Now you had the television and the advertisement of the team nicknames and stuff like that. Like baseball went up a notch before it dropped off. Football, basketball, everybody went up a notch, and then now it leveled out. But man, the storylines, the team names, and the nicknames, that was the best part.
Yeah, man. So let's steer it back. Let's get back into real
Okay,
estate.
yeah, sorry.
What?
Sorry.
That's all good, man. It's all good. Hey, listen, I can talk
All over the
hockey.
place.
I could do a hockey podcast without question. You know what I mean? Sounds like
You should,
something
yeah,
that's up to start up.
that'd be something you should definitely start. We'll talk about that. But like you said, let's get back to it because I want to.
So
I'll keep us off track all day.
you got out of that project. You went on to other
Yeah.
stuff. What are you currently working
Mhm.
on?
So now I am working on capital raising. Before football this past year, some friends of mine when he did a JV in Johnson City, Tennessee, a 16 unit. Bought it for $1.5 million. And the difference between the JV, for those who don't know, a JV and a syndication are two different things. What happens is in a JV is a smaller pool of investors, but a larger amount of money put in to execute. And what they do is normally they'll invest through an entity being the LLC or Bud Holdings or something like that. They'll invest in that. For syndications, it's normally more investors with less money, and they're putting it into this big pool. So you've got SEC regulations and all this stuff. You got to do the same thing on the JV side, but it's a little bit less because it's not as many folks involved.
Yeah.
And then you've got the rules of the 506B, 506C. We're not going to go deep into those. It's not a JV thing. That's a syndication thing, but you can definitely look on the Googles and take a look at that yourself and learn about that. But for us, the JV deal was the best deal because it was more lucrative. It allowed us more control. It was a great place for us to start as a group to do the first investment. And then it also allowed us the ability to, folks were deploying. We had one team, she took command. Shout out to Emma Robles. She took a command. Where's she in? In Kentucky as well. What's the other base in Kentucky? Not Fort Knox. I'm blanking. Whatever. There's another base in Campbell. That's what it is. Fort
Okay.
Campbell. She took command at Fort Campbell. So command and things that takes a lot of time. So she's able to step away a little bit to handle that, and the property is still being able to manage by our team, and it's not the end of the world. So now I'm focused on capital raising, specifically working on JV deals. So the idea again is to go from a C class property to a B class. The difference between the classes for C class versus B class versus A class, we're not even going to talk about D. D is what we call a war zone. C class is normally an area that has a lot more renters, but it's still in a decent area. It's not the end of the world. It's just decent. Class is more of, you'll see more of the suburban kind of living where some people rent, some people are buyers. In A class, just about everybody in that area is buying. And the difference in money is the more risk versus the more reward. So a C class just has a lot more risk, but it has a lot more reward. B class kind of levels out. A class is almost, there's very little risk, but there's also very little money coming in over a short period of time. So if you hold on to that for a long period of time, you're going to get the money, of course, but it's more, as opposed to $100,000 you get, let's say, a month on a property for A class, you're getting $400,000 for B class or C class, that is, and then somewhere in between is where the B falls. Just example's sake. And So that's where we're at now. So I want to make sure I broke all that down to everybody who's listening, so nobody gets
Perfect,
lost.
man. You broke it down. It's little nuggets of wisdom everywhere in that. So now you've been Army, you've done single family homes. Now you're into the capital raising. What's one thing
Yeah.
you learned as your wealth increased?
One thing I've learned is it's not always on you. It's not as much as you want to take control of everything. A lot of the deals that I've done or get to the point where I'm at now is all from networking. It's all from talking to people who've done it, talking to people who are doing it, talking to people who want to do it. Let yourself be inspired, pushed, and driven to the next level. But don't think that you have to be the person that has to sit behind a computer all day long, going through every training. My training, I don't even have a training yet. When I do one day, my training, Bud's training, Grant Cardone, you don't have to sit through these. The biggest thing you can do right now is to take action and go out and network.
Mm-hmm.
Networking, I'm telling you, it's nuts. Real estate is 100% a team sport in every facet of it. Really is 100% a team sport. So the sooner you go out and start making a team or meeting a team or being a part of a team, the sooner your wealth is starting to increase.
Yeah, got it written right there, man. Network equals net worth. My wife bought me that. She thought I was actually going to put my network and my Wi-Fi password on there. I was like, no, but I got something I can do. Do that.
I love it. I love it.
And then the password is God, family, country. So, yeah, man, listen, now you do your Foxhole.
Yeah.
Real estate from the Foxhole, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. What day do you put that out? Who are your guests? What's your audience?
Okay. So that comes out. It's now we've gone to every other Wednesday. You'll still see stuff in between there. Now we're going to do some, because I'm actually PCSing as we speak. So as I'm PCSing, it's a little bit more difficult to get the interviews on time at the right time. So a lot of it, some of it right now will be also me talking about things that I'm seeing and learning, including in the guests to that. But the guests are normally military oriented. Either they are a veteran, they've been in, or they've been impacted by the military, or if we're honest, they just have something to share with everybody in the military that they want them to be and go and do great things. So right now, that is what the podcast is all about. It's all about sharing the journey of some of these multifamily, or not multifamily, sorry, some of these real estate investors. Could be multifamily, could be a real estate lawyer, could be an agent. These people who have been in the military and who are now out in the world actually doing the work, and some of the lessons they learned and how they got there, so that some of our military brothers and sisters can go and learn and actually see that there's other people who are doing what they want to
do. And the title is cool as heck.
Thanks, man. Thank you. The whole thought process behind that was, hey, I have to do something. Military, when they see it, they know, but other people don't feel uncomfortable. And I think I got one of those. I think people are going to still feel uncomfortable. There's no getting around that at this point. But I definitely think that when people say real estate from the Foxhole, the military sees, real estate from somebody else's perspective, which is exactly what I want them to see. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's to be recognizable without being obtrusive. So like the Aim High podcast with the sort of Air Force emblem, but it's a microphone.
Yep.
Is what it is, man.
Yeah, it's tough. It's not easy to pull off, but you definitely, with this Aim High, it's definitely that. 100%.
Thanks, man.
Good day, high flyer. Are you ready to take your real estate investment sky high? The Aim High REI is the perfect Facebook community for you. Get answers from experienced investors, connect with other motivated individuals, and benefit from valuable resources all in one place. If that sounds like something that interests you, join our amazing network today, and we will help elevate your investing journey beyond what you think is possible. Aim High REI is on Facebook, or click the link in the show notes. Best part is, it's completely free to join. See you there.
All right, let's go into these four. These are the same 4 questions that I ask every guest that can help someone who is just starting out achieve new heights. What is one thing you use to keep you motivated?
One thing I use to keep myself motivated is money. It sounds terrible. But when we look at it, when I take it down to its bare bones, right? Despite, how much I love my kids and my wife, the fact is, if I'm not able to provide for them, then things become very difficult. Right? I don't want my kids to experience anything my wife experienced. So the only way to do that is to go out, put my face on the grindstone, and make it happen. So for me, money is a motivation. And if we want to be more philosophical, making sure others don't experience what I did is more motivational. And even though I have a good life, there's stuff that I want to do that I couldn't do because we just didn't have the funding to support.
What is one thing that you learned that completely changed your mindset?
I learned time is more valuable than anything else. There is nothing more expensive than time. I've learned that from the military, and everybody who's listening who's in the military or is impacting somebody in the military, when they deploy and they miss a birthday or they miss their kid get to walk for the first time or they have to see it on video or they miss, God forbid, somebody in the family very close to them passing away. I've had all of that happen to me and it sucks. It's absolutely terrible. But you realize that in that the time you spend is very valuable because it's finite. We're not here forever, right? So if you want to do something great, you only got so much time to do it. So use the time that you have because God only knows, God forbid, you can go out tomorrow and it could be over. It's time to go home. So you have to use everything you can with the time that you have. So that's what I learned. Time is the most valuable thing there is.
Well said, man. It's often said that time is money. I disagree with that. I think time is everything. So well said on that one. What tools do you use to keep you on track?
Oh, I am a fan of calendars. Calendly and Google Calendar. I literally get 4 reminders for a single appointment every day, all day. I'm starting to hate it, but it is very useful to remind me that, hey, you got an interview with Bud at 1400. I got that 6 times before actually getting on the call today, and that was starting at 06 this morning. So, I am a big fan of the calendar. Put everything down in the calendar, pick a Sunday, maybe not even Sunday, pick a day of the week, write out at least 2 or 3 days minimum. I do it with most of the people that I know who are on a not necessarily high level. Some of them are high level. They do like months and weeks. But for those who aren't, a week in advance is perfect. Set up, do the dates with your spouse or your partner, whatever you want to call them, the date with your kids, do the time you want to go out and play hockey, you want to go out and play time you want to go out, the hockey game is on, you got to watch that. Like, I got to watch the NBA game tonight. I know exactly the time frame, and I'll get a 6 reminder before the game comes on. And I'm going to sit down and watch the game. One doing something else. But just put it down on the calendar. You'd be amazed how much impact that has on your life and your drive. You can see it on paper or see it on digital. Put it in your calendar. Good calendar.
Yeah. If the Sixers don't trade Jimmy Butler and they trade Ben Carter instead, we've got 2 championships, in my opinion. I'm just going to let that go. Listen, I'm from Philly. We're used to losing, so, whatever. Second place in the Super Bowl? Yeah, okay, whatever. What else is new?
I mean, I'm a Hornets fan, brother. Don't even sweat it. We haven't had a good team. All due respect.
All right. And then what is one thing that you would change if you had to start all over again?
If I had to start all over again, I'd start sooner. Immediately leaned into what I'm good at. I give that advice to anybody who is looking to do this or to do anything in this area or in real estate or anything else. Find what you're good at, lean into it. I'm good when it comes to connecting, networking, and I'm good on video. I'm not important, I just am, right? Because of that, I've leaned into that now, and now it's done me more good than when I was just floundering around, BSing around. Oh, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that. Now, doing all that stuff is good, but you need to try that as soon as you can. The sooner you get those tries out the way is the sooner you hit exactly what's going to work for you. And then once you find it, don't leave it. Lean into it. And I lean into it hard. If yours is writing a blog, you need to be putting out a blog every other day. And right now with AI, it's even better. It's so much easier even now with AI. You go to ChatGPT, do it for you. You go back, you read it, and you edit your blog so it sounds like you. Whatever is best for you, whether written, audio, visual, I don't care if you're a mime. If it works for you, if that's what you're good in, doggone it, go and be great in that thing. There's people who have literally made money and all they do is go on Instagram and they kick. I literally saw this the other day. All she's doing is kicking. It's driving me crazy. She doesn't do anything but kicks. She's making money off of just kicking. Nothing else but kicking, bro. This place has gone nuts.
I follow somebody and all she does is jump rope with music and does these crazy tricks with jumping. It's amazing.
Right. If you're good at what you are good at, go for it. You don't have to be Ronaldo. You don't have to be Messi. You don't have to be Wayne Gretzky. You don't have to be Marlon Lemieux. These are all sports players. For those who don't know, you don't have to be any of these people. You can just be yourself. And let's say you're great at knitting. I want you to knit your butt off. Knit your butt off and put it out. Let the world see your knitting skills, because there's somebody out there right now. There's a tribe out there right now looking for you. Let them find you. Put your stuff out. It's going to take you places. Just lean into what you're good at and what you love. And that's it. Easy peasy.
Yeah, man. I think that's a great stopping point right there. That's perfect. So,
I'm with it.
Oliver, if somebody wanted to reach out to you to either be a guest on the podcast or have a conversation, how would they do that?
Absolutely. You can reach me on IG at The Oliver Perry. You can look on YouTube. Just type in The Oliver Perry Show or Real Estate from the Foxhole. I'll pop right up. If you look on LinkedIn, J. Oliver Perry III, being in uniform, black guy in uniform, blue background. Oh, no, I'm lying. I got a pink shirt on now. We got color now, but we're putting color in these photos. So pink, got a pink shirt on now, smiling my butt off, enjoying myself. But if you want to find me in one of those places, or you can just send me an email, info@theoliverperryshow.com. Again, that's info@theoliverperryshow.com.
Man, thank you very much for being on. I know you're taking your time out of your busy day, and I know you got a bunch of stuff going on. So, listen, I really appreciate it. I can't say it enough.
Absolutely, man. No, it's been my absolute honor and pleasure to come up on the Aim High podcast, and I'm looking forward to. I want to see how many highs I can get in there. Could fit another one, but.
All right, man. Okay, for those of you watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast platform, until the next time we meet, aim high.
There you go.